Outsmarting Deception. Emily dreamed of the day she would grow up and start earning her own money. She couldn't bear the thought of living in poverty any longer. Emily was one of 7 children in her family. Her mother always said she would have as many kids as possible, regardless of the consequences. The fact that she couldn't even provide proper clothing for them didn't seem to concern her much. "They have something to wear, and that's enough," she'd say. Emily was the 3rd child. Her 2 older sisters had already left home, but Emily was still just dreaming of her escape. Unlike her sisters, she had no intention of rushing into marriage and motherhood, only to endure whatever their husbands threw at them just to avoid coming back home. Emily focused on her studies, often staying late at the library to grasp her lessons in peace, even though it meant facing her mother's wrath later. But her hard work paid off. She graduated at the top of her class. Now, the next step was college. She had to get into a university in the city. Anything else would mean staying home, and that wasn't an option. So one day she packed her few belongings, gathered her documents, and left. She had saved up some money from various odd jobs, enough to rent a room from an elderly lady until she got accepted into university. Once she was in, she was given a dorm room, and only then did she let her family know where she was. While many of her classmates enjoyed the college life, Emily was focused on her studies and side jobs. By the time she graduated, she hadn't even had a boyfriend. She rarely went home, where her perpetually dissatisfied mother and alcoholic father resided, and her younger siblings eyed her with disdain. They didn't understand why she had left, instead of working locally to help them. But Emily wasn't interested in changing anyone's mind. After college came the job hunt, the search for a place to live, and a fierce determination to climb the career ladder and buy her own home. "Emily, congratulations," her friend Christine said one evening as they sat in her small kitchen. "The apartment may be tiny, but it's yours. You're so smart." "Thanks, Christine. You know how hard it was to get this place, and I've still got 5 more years of payments, but it's worth it," Emily replied. "So, now that you've got a place, are you thinking about settling down? Maybe it's time to slow down this race?" "The race is far from over. But yes, I've been thinking about starting a family. And I definitely want kids, but only as many as I can provide for." Christine knew all about Emily's tough childhood and fully agreed with her. Christine herself had gotten married 2 years ago, not in any rush, and now they were both almost 30. Emily met Adam at work. That day, they were giving Mrs. Nichols a retirement party, and her son had come to pick her up. After a brief introduction, Emily didn't give him much thought. But 3 days later, he made sure she didn't forget him. She ran into him outside the office, where he was waiting with a bouquet of flowers, clearly expecting someone. It turned out he was waiting for her. That evening, they strolled through the park together, and Adam walked her home. He didn't take her to a cafe, only mentioned how lovely the weather was and what a shame it would be to miss the chance to enjoy the fresh air. From that day on, they walked together almost every evening. "Emily, how long are you two going to keep wandering around the streets?" Christine laughed. "It's obvious that your Adam is quite the penny pincher. In all this time, 1 bouquet of flowers and a single scoop of ice cream? He hasn't even taken you to a cafe or a movie." "Christine, he's saving up for an apartment, and I get it. Having your own place is really important. Besides, we don't just go for walks. We've been to his mom's place too." "Yeah, and you had tea with pastries that you bought yourself," Christine teased, not letting up. "Well, I couldn't show up empty-handed," Emily replied, growing increasingly uncomfortable with where the conversation was heading. Noticing Emily's discomfort, Christine quickly changed the subject. It wasn't often they got to meet up and chat, so she didn't want to ruin the moment. Christine wasn't fond of Adam, though she couldn't quite put her finger on why. Something about him just didn't sit right with her. And she knew his mother, too. A woman who was always polite when it suited her, but would never help anyone unless there was something in it for her. Christine's aunt had lived in the same building as Mrs. Nichols. However, she didn't want to upset Emily by sharing her concerns. The next time the friends met was 3 months later. "You look beautiful, Emily," Christine said, admiring her friend in a simple white dress. Emily was glowing with happiness. Everything was just as she had imagined. A modest dress, a simple hairstyle, nothing over the top, yet it all came together so elegantly and sweetly. They hadn't thrown a big, loud wedding either, just a small gathering of their closest friends and family. Most of the guests were on Adam's side. Emily's parents had declined to come, saying they had more important things to do, like watching the younger grandchildren. Emily had sent invitations to her siblings, but only the eldest responded, saying their husbands wouldn't let them come and they couldn't get time off work. So it ended up being just Christine and her husband, a few colleagues, and that was it. Christine still couldn't understand how Emily had agreed to marry Adam, but the most important thing was that her friend was happy. Married life was calm. Adam's mother didn't interfere much, though she would occasionally visit and complain that their two-bedroom apartment was too small. "What will you do when you have kids? How will you manage?" she would ask. Emily knew they needed more space if they were going to start a family. She and Adam had talked about it, agreeing they'd have to move once they paid off the mortgage. But while things were going well for Emily at work, Adam always seemed to have some problem or other, whether it was a reduced bonus for the entire department or something else. As a result, he couldn't contribute much to paying off the mortgage early. Still, they had enough to live on, and Emily never complained. Christine noticed how exhausted her friend was. Once, she tried to suggest that Emily shouldn't take on so much, but Emily quickly shut down the conversation, asking Christine not to meddle. Christine valued their friendship too much to push the issue further, so they never brought it up again. Instead, she would vent to her husband about how sorry she felt for Emily. Max could see it too, but as the saying goes, you don't meddle in someone else's marriage. A year passed. "Honey, I've got some great news," Adam shouted from the doorway. "Wash your hands and come to the kitchen. I've got news too," Emily called back. "But I get to go first," he insisted. After changing clothes, Adam joined Emily in the kitchen. "I got promoted. That means a higher salary. We'll be able to pay off the mortgage soon, and then we can start looking for a bigger place. Mom even promised to help with the down payment when we buy a new apartment. How much more do we owe?" "That's fantastic. We're almost done with the payments. I thought we'd finish in about 6 months, but now there's something I need to tell you," Emily said, sitting down next to her husband and hugging him. "I'm pregnant." "What?" Adam jumped up from his chair. He almost blurted out that they couldn't afford a baby right now, but he caught himself just in time, seeing the look on Emily's face. Forcing a smile, he exclaimed, "Oh, I'm so happy. This is just so unexpected." "Yeah, I didn't expect it either. So the mortgage might take a little longer to pay off, but if your salary increase is decent, it'll make up for the fact that I'll be working less, and eventually I'll go on maternity leave. Plus, we'll need to buy a lot of things for the baby." Adam understood all of this, and it made his insides churn. Paying off the mortgage early wasn't possible for Emily. She could no longer work overtime, and she constantly had to buy things for the baby. Adam's contributions to the household income didn't increase by much. Plus, there were always unexpected expenses, like the car breaking down or his mother needing help with medical bills. And then, of course, they had to send her to a spa. Emily was upset but kept quiet. After all, Adam loved his mother, and she had raised him on her own. It wasn't like Emily's upbringing. Eventually, baby Olivia was born. The hospital discharged Emily into the arms of a cheerful group. Christine and her husband were there, as well as Adam and his mother. Adam, however, seemed to be in a rather merry mood, slightly tipsy. Emily scolded him, but he just brushed it off. Adam stayed home with Emily and the baby for the first week, but then he returned to work. Mrs. Nichols visited a few times, but when Emily asked her to watch Olivia so she could take a quick shower, she made it clear that she wouldn't be left alone with the baby. "You see, Emily, dear, I'm already old. My hands shake, and I don't have the strength to handle little ones anymore. Once she grows up, you'll visit me more often. But for now, I'll just admire her from a distance," she would say, admiring Olivia for a mere 10 minutes before leaving. Christine would drop by whenever she could to help, but she was also about to give birth soon. Olivia was a fairly calm baby, but it was still tough for Emily to handle everything on her own. And recently, Adam had been coming home late, claiming he was picking up extra work. However, Emily didn't see any increase in the household funds. When her savings were nearly depleted, Emily decided to work from home. She set up a small workspace in the kitchen and bought a baby monitor because she was tired of running to the bedroom at every little noise to check if everything was all right. The extra money was helpful, but Emily was constantly exhausted. That day, she had to submit a report, so she spent half the night working on the computer. And during the day, she took care of Olivia. When she received another assignment in the evening, she decided just to review the scope of work and plan her schedule. It was already 8 p.m., and Adam, as usual, was running late. She didn't even notice when she fell asleep, slumped over in her chair. Emily woke up to strange noises coming from the baby monitor. It turned out that Adam was in the bedroom, talking on the phone. She was about to get up and join him when something made her stop. She decided to listen instead. "Yes," came Adam's voice through the monitor. "Everything's going well. Of course, she doesn't suspect a thing. Relax. I thought it wouldn't drag on this long either, but who knew? We'll pay off the mortgage in a month, sell this apartment, and buy a new, spacious one in a new development. I'll buy it, and you'll contribute some money so we don't need another mortgage. Yeah, the difference isn't too big, but it's just bare walls, and I'll pay you back later. Emily's always busy with the baby, and we've already talked about her giving me power of attorney. After that, it's all set. We'll put the new apartment in your name. The money I've saved up will be enough to cover what I owe you, plus renovations and furniture. I haven't really spent anything on family life. In 5 months, my deposit matures. I don't want to lose the interest by withdrawing it early. Once I get it, I'll bring you the cash. Don't worry, Mom, Emily won't get anything. As soon as I withdraw the money, I'll file for divorce. The apartment will be in your name, and I won't have anything in my accounts. As for alimony, I'll pay the bare minimum. It's nothing compared to having my own place for next to nothing. All right, gotta go. Olivia is stirring, and Emily will wake up the second she hears her." As soon as he hung up, Olivia began to fuss, and a sleepy Emily appeared in the doorway moments later. "Oh, you're home, honey," she said, barely holding back her emotions. "I wanted to look at a new project, but fell asleep. I guess I'll call it a night." "Of course, darling, you should rest," Adam said, with a feigned tone of concern. The next day, Emily called Christine and told her everything. Christine didn't hold back. "That jerk! I knew it," she began, but stopped herself, not wanting to hurt her friend more than she already was. Calming down, she continued, "Don't do anything rash right now. Let me talk to Max. He's a lawyer. We can't let this slide." That same day, Emily told Adam that she wouldn't be able to work for a while. She needed to undergo some medical tests because she wasn't feeling well, which meant paying off the mortgage would take longer. For now, they'd just stick to the minimum payments. Adam was disappointed but didn't offer any financial help. He just muttered something about finding them a great new place and hoped someone else wouldn't snatch it up. 4 months later, Adam came home and nearly tripped over the suitcases in the hallway. "Emily, what's this?" he shouted through the apartment. But instead of his wife, Christine and Max came out to meet him. "Where are Emily and Olivia?" Adam demanded. "They've gone to the beach for a little vacation," Christine replied. "And what are you doing here?" "We're here to make sure you leave with only your belongings." "How dare you? I'm Emily's husband and I live here," Adam fumed. "Not anymore," Max said, handing him a document. "Here, take a look. This is a copy. You can do what you like with it." Adam stared at the divorce certificate in his hands, along with a summons to court for the division of property. "And one more thing," Max added. "You won't be able to withdraw any money from your accounts right now, so don't bother rushing to the bank. You know that everything acquired during the marriage is split 50-50, right?" Max laughed as Adam's face turned pale. Sometime later, Emily moved into a new apartment. The money she received from the divorce settlement was more than enough to trade up and even make a down payment. That's how the story ends, friends. Join the conversation below and express your thoughts on this novel. If you found it captivating, share the link with your friends. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you never miss a new story that will make your heart race. Your support inspires us to create more tales. All the best to you. Take care and see you next time.